So welcome everyone to the second
Number
podcast. 2. I'm Dallas.
The second podcast and the first interview podcast.
It is. We got someone special here with us. So I'm Dallas.
I'm not Dallas.
He's Mike. Together.
I'm David.
Oh yeah, you just jumped right in. I love that.
Yeah.
So this is David. And so where do you work?
I work at the Tasting Room at Ogden Point, underneath the Breakwater Cafe.
Okay. And you have something else as well that you do, right?
I do. I also do catering a bit on the side as Fur Catering.
Yep.
As well.
Yep. FIR Catering.
FIR, yeah. That's
if anybody's looking for it.
Where can you find it?
Instagram.
Okay.
A website that's perpetually being built.
Yep.
Yeah.
And a Facebook page.
Okay.
Yeah.
And so, what's your position at the Breakwater Tasting Room?
I am the chef.
The head chef.
Yeah, the chef. The dishwasher, the chef, the prep cook.
Oh, you're more than just the chef.
Sometimes I serve, as you guys experience.
Oh yeah, I saw you running.
Yeah.
I saw you running.
And so how did you get into the business of cooking? Like what drew you to it? How did that all come about?
Well, I grew up in Canmore, Alberta.
Okay.
We grew up in a pretty weird household that was a bit tucked away from the town itself. It's kind of in what's called the Spray Valley. And it's about 12 houses, pretty much in the middle of nowhere.
So there's 12 houses in the middle of nowhere, and you're in one of those houses.
Yeah, we're in one of those houses. It's just surrounded by the wilderness. You have Spray Lakes, which is a fairly well-known hike in Kansas country right above us. Basically, when I was a kid, I grew up in the woods. I grew up in the forest, and this kind of links into being a chef and foraging.
Yeah.
My dad had partnerships in a few restaurants in town.
Okay.
In Canmore themselves, and so I was just introduced to wild foods super young.
Cool.
Like you, so you when you were born, that's where you grew up.
That's where I grew up. Yeah,
Okay.
until I was about 8. Then we moved into town, and then my first job was in the family kitchen.
In the kitchen.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So before 8, you were out like just searching around, digging stuff up, and
yeah, it's.
Probably made himself sick a few times.
yeah, I know you didn't
eating the wrong mushroom or.
It's funny. My full name is David Douglas Furlonger. So the middle name Douglas, and then the last name Furlonger, which is Furlonger.
Okay.
However, that's where Fur Catering comes from as well, right?
Yeah.
Okay.
But the Douglas Fir was either a joke from the parents, naming after the tree.
That's hilarious.
But my mom likes to say now that she named me after the botanist. And when I was a kid, I would just go into the woods and somehow find this food and not die.
And not
I know you survived it all.
Right? Like you survived it.
And then come back and be like, I ate like a bunch of tiger lily leaves or.
Yeah, I always wondered about when you're trying these fruits and some weird ones like pomegranate or whatever. And the first person that comes across these things.
Yeah, somebody's
and
going
it's so
in.
risky. And it's like, I'm gonna try eating this and hope it tastes good and I don't die.
Yeah, with all respect to everyone that died to find the food we could eat today.
Yes.
Actually, that's a good point. Maybe they did die.
Yeah.
They could have.
I'm sure a number.
Well,
of
then
them
how do they pass that information on? Don't eat this. If they.
It's a good point.
You know
I think
what I mean?
there's a strategy that even when you forage that you kind of employ, and it's
Don't die.
Don't die is the first strategy, and the second strategy is it's okay to taste. You don't swallow it. You spit it out. And that could tell you a lot about the plant. Because very astringent plants or very, very, very bitter plants. There's a reason our taste kind of associates that with like, ew, gross. Like, it's very astringent. It's because there's a chance it could be very poisonous.
So if something could kill you, you could taste it and sort of taste that and spit it out and you'd be okay?
Yeah, I think at one point we all were capable of that. Now we're just fumbling through everything.
Yeah.
Actually, that makes
so
sense.
Disconnected, but
that makes exactly.
Anything that tastes amazing will kill you.
Yeah, absolutely.
That's not
think,
great.
I think there's for sure things out there that may be sweet or otherwise, and they could still be very dangerous. But generally, if it's really astringent and it's very, very bitter and very not palatable, the best rule of thumb is to just leave it alone.
There you go. Leave the foraging to the people
Yeah,
that forage.
But the disconnect to me is very interesting. How disconnected we actually are from our food.
Yeah.
That's really, really intriguing
I
to
don't
me.
know where I get my food. From the store.
As far as Mike knows, it just shows up on his plate, and that's how it came to be.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, there's a massive...
Even at the Tasting Room Bistro.
Yes, at the tasting room?
Yeah.
Yeah, you get this amazing food that just shows up.
Yeah.
Incredible, by the way. We're going to get into that, but...
Yeah, for sure. Yeah, as far as the disconnect goes, I think it's a major problem in the food systems that we have, and people are really disconnected from their food systems. And if I could plug a few places in town where people could get involved is these commons they have. So there's a Vic West Commons. There's one in Fernwood that's run by the RNG. And you could go volunteer and you could learn about these native plants and you could handle these plants and identify these plants and they're for everyone, and that's why they're called the commons. You could go there and you could take a couple apples or take a little claytonia, which is miner's lettuce, or various other things. And
there's one in Fernwood, like a little communal garden.
Yeah, it's edible forest.
Edible forest, and you go in there. And
they follow us on Instagram. We follow the Fernwood one.
Mm-hmm. No, there's another one, like on the side of the street.
Oh.
Like in a person's house.
Oh, really?
Yeah, no, so the whole front yard is basically
a communal garden?
A communal garden. And then actually on the city property there, they've left it, but they built all this community garden there. So you just basically take what you need and rock and roll.
Really?
Yeah. Right near coffee. Right near the coffee. It's called Coffee. It's a coffee shop called Coffee. With K. So right down the street.
Okay, yeah.
Oh, right.
Yeah, so right down there, and it's big.
So that's on Humboldt? No.
It's on it'll be on Haltane.
Haltane, right.
Haltane, right before there.
So that's on Haltane, and then the one that I was speaking of is just back from the community center. What's that street called?
The one right by Vic High.
I know where you're talking about.
Yeah, right by Vic High, and Vic High is actually doing a large project as well.
They just started, you hear that?
No.
They got a huge funding to start like their own, the first one, I think, in schools?
I can't speak to that. In Victoria, it seems that would be right, but as far as everywhere else goes, so they have a huge plot in kind of that field they don't seem to use for anything on the side of the building. So they're doing a huge community garden there, which is great because then that will hopefully connect people at a younger age.
Exactly.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I think it's important that younger kids start learning about this stuff.
Yeah, absolutely, and that's where any sort of foraging would come in.
Yep.
Is because it's a really great way to connect to where you live, because you're encountering a lot of wild foods, a lot of native plants, but you're also encountering a lot of invasive plants, which honestly need to get eaten. You should never be bad. You should never feel bad for raiding a blackberry bush and just taking everything off it when it's a Himalayan blackberry bush and they're invasive and various other things like that.
And so, how does does the foraging link in with the slow food movement at all?
It absolutely does. So maybe for some people that might not know what the slow food movement is.
Yeah.
It's a promotion. It's kind of the opposite of fast food. So it's a promotion of small scale organic farming. They're against GMOs. They're against essentially imported foods, and they're all for eating seasonally.
Okay.
So foraging and what sometimes is called wild crafting.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Is directly tied into to that movement, because that's part of them. Of course, like any issue, it could be super complicated. So, for example, wildcrafting might not always be ethical if it's always safe for profit. So, I collect myself for the restaurant because the tasting room has forage products, and it does have, and it's all local farms. It's all BC farms, right?
Yeah.
So I'll collect, and as you guys saw, it's just little things. This is these little garnishes. It's these little touches. I have quite a bit of bullwhip kelp, which I have a license from the government to collect.
That gourmet was amazing.
Yeah, thank you.
And that was foraged, right?
Yeah, I mean, well, the kale's from Mitchell's, and then the gomasio on top is foraged bulk kelp, where it's usually sesame seed and salt. This and nori or something like that. This one is bullwhip kelp that I forage, and then sesame and Vancouver Island.
Where would someone go to educate themselves on foraging, and where to possibly get a license and that kind of, like, how was the process? Is there a place for the process to start?
The process is very murky, and wildcrafting courses, there's kind of two schools of thought on it. There's one where people are saying, well, let's not make this into some hip thing that everybody wants to do, and is kind of like the equivalent of casting a net in the bottom of the ocean and dragging it and getting all the fish off. We don't want to do that to our forests, which is super understandable.
Yes.
And then there's the other school of thought where maybe I lean a bit more is, the more we all know about it, the more we're kind of connected to also the local food system.
Start to stay local, yeah.
And the farms and stuff, and that's directly related to slow food is that small scale, supporting your local farms. As far as getting licensing, some things you do need license for, some things you don't. It's very murky. I mean, I wouldn't recommend just kind of going out and doing it, because there's a lot of rules. For example, you shouldn't be harvesting from parks, especially national parks and provincial parks. I mean, these things are for everybody, so we shouldn't be taking plants out of them. You got to be careful. Yeah. You don't want to walk onto some angry landowner's space and start picking whatever.
That just takes a sheep from the people.
That's not a good move.
Yeah, foraging doesn't include going to Silver Rail and just taking corn right off the husk.
I'm taking it up. I've gotten good at this. I found a real good spot.
Yeah, exactly. So there are rules. You could look them up. You could Google them, Pacific Northwest or BC foraging rules. You'll find a few sites that will tell you all the details, because there's all these different kinds of lands. There's tree farm licenses, there's forest lands, there's crown lands, private lands, CRD lands, native reserves, all that stuff. And you can do some things on others and not on some others.
So it even goes deeper than just like finding food. You're starting to learn about the actual land itself, and there's a I don't know what the word is I'm looking for. There's a lot of implications about this that would make you feel, I guess, closer to where you live.
I think so, for sure. I think I have an incredible strong connection to Canmore and the Bow Valley, for a big reason because of that. Because I didn't just grow up in the town and kind of go through life skateboarding and snowboarding and hanging out on the streets. It's because I was in the forest so much that there's just so much nostalgia when I go back. And I think, I want that for everybody.
Just thinking you'd be like the best at like Hunger Games.
Yeah.
You know what I'm talking about?
I do.
Like trying to find your food and stuff?
Yeah, well, the Hunger Games where she was like at the very end, the poison berry or eat it or not, and they didn't know. This guy would know.
You'd survive that.
I may and I may not. I'm by no means an expert, but I'm learning all the time. I feel like my passion for foraging and for wild foods, of course for foods, it's always been there.
Yeah.
And then for wild foods, it was there all through my life. And then when I kind of moved to Vic about 10 years ago, I was in the city a lot. And I kind of lost the connection a little bit. And then recently, probably in the last, honestly, like 3 or 4 years, I've just started to really reconnect and really start caring about wild foods once again. And that just came from cooking. It came from my partner Megan, who is incredible with wild foods and seems to know every Latin name. So that really helps. To be honest, I often defer, like, hey, is this going to kill me? Or
Yeah.
So what I do know, I do know well. It's good to get super obsessive over it in a way.
It seems like you go really deep with this.
Yeah.
Like this is like a whole thing that you don't even know about, but you can go deep.
Yeah, it's a rabbit hole for sure.
Yeah.
And I think for me, it's just every little thing. Like I got into kelp years and years ago. I moved over here essentially because I love surfing. So I came over to
nice.
Vic, and just always being in the water. You could always like munch on all these things, whether it be sea lettuce or kelp or.
That's definitely not something I would have thought about. I'm just eating all this food while I surf.
Yeah.
In the middle of the ocean.
Yeah, all these aquatic plants. Yeah, a lot of abundance. Diving for crabs or pulling mussels off the rocks.
Yeah.
It's great. So.
So what's the deal with crabs and cat food? Do you know about that?
Crabs and cat food.
Yeah.
No.
Where you catch them using cat food? You
Oh,
hear about this?
No.
Like in the traps.
Yeah, in the traps. You like
Right.
puncture a can of cat food. This is what Quan was telling.
They like it?
Yeah, they love it. They just get it. I don't know what it is. So you never heard that?
No, I've never heard that. I feel like they made anything. To bring that around to what's legal and what's not legal.
That's not
A
legal.
tin in the ocean. Probably not a good call.
Yeah, hate to tell your friend, no, not about the crab, but about aquatic plants, which would include, everything. Sea lettuce, sea asparagus, which is very popular. You've probably seen it in thrifties in the fall, or not in the fall, but around like June and July.
Dallas, you seen it?
Probably.
Yeah.
It's kind of like the sea beans, as maybe they call it. I'm not
okay.
sure exactly what they call it.
Okay.
I just call it sea asparagus.
Yeah.
So all these aquatic plants have separate rules for harvesting and separate licensing for commercial harvesting. So if you guys want to go out and you could grab whatever you want from the ocean, you make a meal at home, that's great. But for a restaurant to go out and their concern is with a large amount of harvesting, it's just like if you're going to go out as a restaurant and fish for crab with cat food and then serve it at your restaurant. Well, they don't really look super kindly on that. So you do have to have licenses.
Yeah, this is all personal consumption.
It's all personal consumption. So you do have to have the license, or you have to buy off someone with the license. And it's probably your best bet to go down that avenue, like properly buy the stuff.
Do it properly, of course.
Do it properly if you're a restaurant, or if you're planning on selling your product, or if you're catering, or any potential caterers out there. They're like, oh, maybe I'll just go collect a whole bunch of it and sell it.
You heard it here. Don't use cat food to catch crab.
Yeah, no, and it's weird because like I've never even fished.
No.
I'm so far removed from all of this
Wow.
that I've never done anything. So it's interesting.
Fishing's fun.
Fishing's super fun.
I love it. Yeah, it's peaceful.
I think you don't have to, but at the same time, you don't have to like go out, get a fish, bash it over the head to like have this connection with local food.
Yeah.
Although that's it's great fun to go fish and eat what you catch and kind of provide for yourself. We could also just make sure we're supporting our local farms, and organic's always better. Of course, the slow food movement, as you may know, they don't really love GMO. There's a lot of costs that are externalized with that kind of thing. A lot of research, a large carbon footprint that you might not readily see. So going and supporting your local organic farms that rotate their crops, they rotate their fields. They don't have this like monoculture going with their crops, which is planting the same crop over and over every year.
Yeah.
Is a great way just to be connected with what grows here. So at the restaurant, we do everything totally seasonally. So
That's just it. If you're eating something that's not in season, how are you getting it? Where's it coming from?
Yeah.
Where's it coming from? And
It's not coming from here because you can't grow it here, right?
Yeah, I mean we are. Well, we'll probably touch more on the restaurant in a bit. But,
that's next. Yeah.
Yeah. So, but we are in the process of expanding, and we'll get into it. But we want to have a little poke bowl because we think they're kind of going to be. It's kind of going to be the thing, right?
It's
like
up
the
and
new
coming
ramen thing or the new.
What was that place called? The restaurant?
What, the new one?
Yeah.
Island Poke?
Island Poke.
Yeah, so they're coming up, and some of the guys at work are kind of like, well, how can you have one without avocado? And I'm kind of pushing back, like, well, I mean, until we could buy avocados in Canada, and more importantly, going back to food miles and where it comes from, is buying an avocado in Canada is like, it's the same term as like when pigs fly when it comes to sustainability, because if they grew them in Canada, they'd be growing them in a greenhouse. And a greenhouse growing avocados next door to you is going to and you going and buy those, you're going to be contributing to with a larger carbon footprint than an avocado that's grown less artificially, very naturally, even if it is maybe in California and they have to truck up a whole bunch, because those greenhouses and that kind of like year-round food system with all that electricity and all that power that goes and all the energy and all the extra stuff that goes into it is massive.
It's crazy, yeah.
So
and that's the stuff you don't really think about.
Yeah, so food miles is important, and I think
miles.
Food miles. Yeah, how many miles does your food have when it comes to you?
I remember Harvest Road. They want to do a mile burger.
Yeah, they wanted to do a 1 mile burger where everything was from within
there, including the bun, is all within a mile of where it's made.
Sure, yeah, and that's incredibly possible too.
Yeah, it's cool.
And so, I mean, it's just really important to be connected like that, but as well, support restaurants.
So, yeah, support the restaurants.
As well that are doing this.
It's also really important, going back to that, is what's almost more important than supporting local, because we could support local and still buy tomatoes in the middle of January.
Yeah.
But they're coming from a greenhouse. So what's even more, which just as important, I should say, is supporting local, is eating seasonally. To be eating kale when kale is in season. To be eating even things like apples and cabbage, which goes into cold storage, and you could get apples that were picked off the tree in September or whatever, and we could be buying them right now locally. And they just went into cold storage. Those things, like these days, seem to last forever. But the cold storage that those apples were in also takes a lot of energy. It's like a deceivingly large footprint.
I've actually never given that.
Carbon footprints, I haven't really thought about that.
I've never thought about that.
Not even food, but in general. And then kind of hit me with crypto being so big in carbon footprint, I didn't realize.
What, crypto beans?
Crypto.
The currency.
The currency. Cryptocurrency.
Yeah, crypto being.
I see.
Cryptocurrency, and then that was like, and then I started looking at all sorts of carbon footprints, and it's crazy.
Yeah. So there's a really interesting research article I read about green beans in the UK, and people were the local war movement was just getting started. This is a few years ago now, and people were buying these green beans from the UK that were grown in greenhouses over these green beans that were being grown in Kenya. And when you really broke it down and you broke the carbon footprints down of it all, it turns out the green beans in the UK were far more damaging for sustainability than the ones in Kenya, even if the ones in Kenya were flown by jumbo jet into the UK. Because in the UK they had artificial lighting, artificial heating, artificial irrigation, far more pesticides and treatment on the beans themselves. And then the ones from Kenya were coming from fields that had, they didn't even have mechanical irrigation. They were, trenches that were dug from these little aquifers that they made, and even with the airplane, they didn't turn out to be out of season to be better than the UK ones. So seasonal is very important.
How do you think somebody could educate themselves more on that aspect, like food miles? Is there anything you would recommend if somebody knows nothing?
There's nothing
like
about
it seems
food miles.
There's nothing?
No, I mean, sorry, if someone knows nothing about food miles.
No, but somebody knows, like, where could somebody start? Is there anywhere? Is this just experience that you just get over time?
I think we should figure that out and let people know. I mean, it's definitely something that I've just gotten experience of over time, and I didn't just hammer like a single resource. But finding resources online would be a great start if you're really interested in it, for sure.
The word organic,
mm-hmm.
can it be that you have organic tomatoes that are made in a greenhouse?
Yes.
Oh, so organic isn't covered by, it's not all natural then, in a way.
Organic vegetables still use organic pesticide or inorganic, say, light, stuff like that.
Okay, so there is still a process. Yeah.
As far as I know, I'm not totally up to snuff on Canadian organic laws, which from what I've heard, are much more stricter than the U.S. organic laws. But it's a big process to get yourself certified organic. So, for example, I buy from Mitchell's Farm from Tom up there, and he isn't certified organic, but there's nothing inorganic, and there's no synthetic pesticides or any of that on his fields, and there hasn't been for 7 years. But the whole shtick with this is it, as I hear from farmers sometimes, is that you gotta pony up a lot of money
to get that label.
And you have these inspectors coming in, and they're going over everything with a fine comb, and they're always, you got to pay X amount per visit they have, and they have to have all these visits. And
I think that's Oceanwise as well. You have to pay.
Yeah, I'm not sure.
Yeah, you do.
You do have to pay for Oceanwise, right?
You do.
Yeah.
Which is fine. I mean, as long as they're promoting what it's about and not just their brand or something.
Yeah.
So I get why it's so detailed. But just because it doesn't say organic doesn't mean it's not organic, if that makes sense. Like, don't be afraid to like ask the farmer. If you go up to Mitchell's store farm and the staff, or you see Tom there, and you say, hey, is this organic? You use any pesticides? Yeah, it doesn't say organic, but it's going to be essentially just as organic as something that does say organic, and it'll probably be less expensive.
Mm-hmm. I've heard different things like that, even with like animals and chickens and stuff, where you don't have that label, but you can get a chicken that's not labeled as that might be better than other ones that are labeled. Yeah. As like eating organic feed or whatever.
Yeah, it's very understandable, and we got to remember too, like a lot of these small scale farms, some of them probably in a way just don't have the money to go through the process of getting certified, even though they're totally organic. So I mean, the best thing we could do with that is just talk to the people that are growing our food. And on southern Vancouver Island, there's nothing but small farms and artisans and people producing all these products. And we could definitely have a bit more connection, I think, as an island.
I've never really thought about that, though, like in my life, to be eating seasonally. Mm-hmm. Like basically going to the farm, seeing what they have, and just eating that stuff. Yeah. And forgetting about the stuff they don't have because now that's out of season. Like applying that to my life, I've never thought about that.
Yeah, and it probably wouldn't be easy, would it?
Well, you make it would
be hard to change.
It would be a tough change, especially. I'm saying this as like a chef, so.
But I think that
feel
would be
unfair saying it sometimes because people are like, well, of course you could just go in there and be like, oh, this, and this, and make something good out of it. But you know what? Some people don't. But
that could be fun, though.
It could be really fun.
Like it could be now. It's a challenge.
It could also be a pain.
I can see both sides.
I can see both sides, but I think that maybe. If you do this, you might discover that your favorite dish ever.
Absolutely, yeah.
Oh yeah.
And you had no idea that this, you know what I mean?
People shouldn't be afraid of it, and they definitely should do it. But I mean, I know people that don't know how to make food unless there's cheese in it or avocado.
Really?
So
cheese is good. I put cheese in a lot of stuff.
So some people are shackled to these things that they can't get locally, or they feel like they don't have as many options. Because they don't know. I mean, you take 10 people and you're like, what do you do with a kohlrabi, which is like almost like a giant turnip vegetable that grows here, and most of them will kind of look at you weird and say, well, what's a kohlrabi?
The same thing that we just did.
Yeah,
I just kind of stared at it blankly. I just I have no idea what that is.
I'm like, you just boil it or something.
Yeah,
I don't know.
It'd be good. Yeah, it's kind of like a turnip. It's super good.
So, going back to the tasting room, so where did the name come from, and what's the vision behind the restaurant?
The name's funny. The name is a result, if I'm going to be totally honest, the name seems to be a bit of a result of a bunch of people not being able to really agree on a name.
Agree on a name.
Okay.
Yeah. If that makes sense. I mean, it does sum it up. It is all small plates. It's charcuterie. It's beer and wine, where you could get flights of wine and flight from beer. Mm-hmm. More importantly, it's all BC. Like 95%. So the name kind of fits. It is a tasting room in a sense. You're tasting these small dishes or these canapes.
It's amazing how it seems as the more we go to restaurants, the less there is a story of the name of the restaurant. These names just kind of, they're like, I don't know, we just did it.
Sounds good.
It rolls off the tongue, it's memorable, these kinds of things. Yeah,
these kinds of
There's
things.
no actual real background to them a lot of the time.
Yeah, and one of the owners does own the upstairs, right?
Yeah, it's the same ownership as the upstairs. We're just offering slightly different things. Yeah. And I am not involved with the food program upstairs. I'm just involved in the downstairs food program. But the tasting room, Yeah, the name came about. There's other ones floated around. It's kind of lovingly nicknamed the Dive Bar because it used to be. Maybe some people know this. The underneath part of that cafe at Ogden Point used to be called. It used to be the Dive Shop, Ogden Point Dive Center, or
the Dive Center, I think, or. Yeah, it was where everybody went to get their snorkels and stuff.
Yeah, so they packed up and left town, and Mike Helm, the owner of the cafe as well, got the lease on the space and made this amazing restaurant down below it. So yeah, the Dive Bar kind of seemed cool. Maybe it seemed a bit too ironic or something. Because it's not in a sense a dive bar.
No, when you walk in, it's not.
Really
it's
nice.
completely the opposite.
It's very different.
Yeah, for sure. And so yeah, we are tasting the vision behind it. I think is
the
what
vision.
The vision behind it was basically I was at a point because I wasn't working with Mike or his businesses before I took it on, and I was on a point. I started for catering. Which, by the way, the name does have thought behind it because it is my last name.
That is true.
Yes.
Yeah, that is true.
So I started for catering, and I just couldn't bring myself. All through my 20s, I ran food programs that were very reliant on. And I always tried to roll it back, and I really was conscious about getting all these things from all these weird places, and from the U.S. and Mexico and all this. And then I started Fur, and I improved on that greatly. Fur was entirely local and organic and foraged as well. And I couldn't really, it was coming in the slow season with catering, and I couldn't bring myself to just go get a job
at any old
place.
Fair enough.
I just couldn't do it. It just, something about it. Even a lot of places in town, of course we're not going to name any names, but there's a lot of places that like to promote themselves as using a lot of local or BC, and then at the end of the day, if you looked at their books, they're buying 70% of their stuff from a large distributor.
But because they buy a little bit from here, then they say that they use local, right? Is that kind of the thing?
It is. I think if you own a restaurant in Vic, if you don't have a seasonal menu, a very seasonal menu, I'm not talking about 2 menu changes a year, or 1 a year, or even three a year. If you're not changing it every 2 months, you're probably not getting a totally local menu. You're probably having to
bring some stuff in.
Bring some stuff in from California.
Or like you were saying earlier, Mike, about the tomatoes, for example, right?
What did I say?
Didn't you say like tomato? Or no, did you say tomatoes? Or did I make that up in my head?
Avocados?
No, it was just eating
crypto beans.
Eating stuff off like at the wrong time of year.
I don't know if I said tomatoes. I have to check the tape there, but I just said it's eat seasonally, basically. What I said, yeah.
And so, at the tasting room, how would you succinctly describe the food? And then what's the inspiration for the dishes?
Sure. Well, how I describe the food.
Made in a little kitchen.
Very succinctly, the kitchen's impressively small.
Actually, yes, we saw the kitchen. It's crazy.
It is crazy. It's probably like one of the world's smallest kitchens. It's the size of my bathroom. And not not a full bathroom either.
So those restraints may have actually ended up benefiting the food program in a way. How I succinctly describe it is, if you were a table and I was busy and I came to the table and you had never been there, I feel like I would say that it is sharing plates or BC source sharing plates, charcuterie, cheese, ferments, beer, and wine. And that's the easiest way to put it.
Yeah, Mike was really impressed with the drink menu.
Yeah,
how local it was.
The wine on taps is cool.
The wine on taps is very cool.
It's quite unique.
No air in the lines, so they're kind of like fresh pours every pour,
which is pretty nice.
Yeah,
that was like the first thing he said.
Well, yeah, no, I couldn't believe the BC wine. Like it was like your selection was so local. Everything, all the 95% of it even was BC, I think.
Yeah, it is all BC. So the inspiration is BC. That helps with it a lot. So staying local is a massive inspiration. I feel like I don't know what you guys thought of the menu. I think there's definitely some Far East influences in there. Like
I
I do have the gomai.
Yeah, there was some Far East for sure.
Yeah, there's some Japanese influences in there. I'm one of those people that's kind of obsessed with ramen as well.
Yeah.
So there's definitely some Japanese influences in there.
I found it a very wide. You said all what it is in a few words, but the menu itself was very big. It was a very big range. So I feel like anybody could go eat there and find something they enjoy.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
It's a very small menu right now.
But while still
I
having
just
that
feel
broad
like
range.
it's a small menu that is a huge range of things for people to eat.
It should. If you like
Covers
charcuterie, it's an insane menu.
It's crazy. I don't know if there's anywhere else
That elk, remember the elk we
in
had?
town that does it that way. Have you found another place in town that actually does it by like item and weight?
Yeah, well, I know other towns that just do it by item, or other places in town, sorry, that just do it by item. I think for maybe example, Stage, you could go in and you could just order the one, but they don't really explain it to you. Like they don't say like this is how much you're getting. So
Yeah.
So here we say everything you order comes in 20 grams.
20 grams.
The best way to explain that to somebody that maybe is like, what's a gram? Is that you would put 20 grams of meat probably on a sandwich.
Yeah,
I would
that's
say
perfect. Yeah.
about that.
You would, I would, Dallas wouldn't.
Yeah, maybe even a
No, I used to
maybe
go
even
crazy.
a little less. Maybe even a little less.
I would do
right?
I do like 300 grams because I'm crazy.
300.
Literally,
like a lot,
I would do 300. Yeah.
I just think it was
Depends how big your sandwich is, I guess.
Oh, they're like huge. Yeah.
I just thought it was incredible looking and being able to select items like that, and then knowing that you get cheese,
like a la carte.
It's all standardized, so it's 20
it's
grams.
awesome.
No matter what you get, you gain 20 grams of it, and then you see the price right there. That is 20 grams. So you'll have everything from cheese from Little Qualicum with the cranberry and pepper.
Good.
That's $1. I don't know what we have, $1.90 or something
Yeah.
for 20 grams, and you'll have everything up to that elk sausage that you guys had with the fennel and the black. And,
That was so
and the black
good.
pepper. Yeah, from Two Rivers, which is the gold standard in ethical meat, right?
Ethical meat, yeah.
And that one I think is about $3.80 for 20 grams. So you kind of have this huge range,
Which is good. It can kind of it's works for multiple people, more people. You can kind of pick and choose your way through it and make it very. I don't know. You just make it your own.
Yeah,
Make it your own. You don't have to go. You can
It's
go
your own
get
experience,
You
yeah.
go get the same one every time you want, but you can mix it up, right?
for sure. Well, there's 8 or 9. There's 8 or 9 cheese, and there's 8 or 9
so many
meat, and it's always changing. We use cheese. I get from various places. A lot of Little Qualicums on there, but there's village cheese from Armstrong, I want to say.
Okay.
There's Natural Pastures, of course, from Courtney Comox, and Kootenai Alpine cheese. I think that's the ones in Creston.
Yeah.
And then for meat, it's if it's not Two Rivers, it'll be either made in house or it will be Four Quarters in Sydney.
Oh, is there's a Comox cheese, right? Like Comox Brie, Comox Camembert, is that right?
Yeah, there's the is it Buffalo Brie?
Oh,
Comox.
I like Comox Valley cheese.
I don't know if that's Natural Pastures or not, but
I can't remember. Yeah.
And then one other thing we noticed when we were there was that the atmosphere was very unique.
right.
Like that's another thing Mike commented on when we first went in, right?
Yeah, it definitely wasn't a dive bar.
No.
It was very much a. Well, it's interesting though because I could see I could see 20-year-olds going or 19-year-olds going. I could also see 60-year-olds going.
Mm-hmm.
It was a very like you said when the sun went down. It had a very cool lighting to it, and you got the water looking outside and stuff like that. Wood very. It was very divey. It was divey, but a fancy divey.
Yeah.
And then on the TV,
really put it.
like you had was it Jacques Cousteau?
Yeah,
Jacques Cousteau was on that night. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, it was. It's very unique. It's a very unique location and experience.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it's kind of the lower ceiling, a lot of wood, a lot of like deeper, darker.
It feels
tones,
local. It feels like a living room. It feels like you're comfortable. Very
It's
comfortable. Very cozy in there.
How much was it remodeled? Like how much went into that?
The remodeling, and I kind of came in late, as I was saying. I just kind of approached them and said, here's a concept for a restaurant. And they said, that sounds great, Dave. So I came in late, but as I understand it, they had that lease I feel like for a whole year, it took a long time to get all the ducks in the row and make everything and make it look good. So it took quite a while. We launched in January.
2018.
2018. Yeah. So this year, and we've been doing a massive slow launch, I guess you could call it that. It's
like, yeah, there was still no signage when we went.
There's no signage.
Is there signage now?
No.
Okay.
Well, think about it.
Yeah.
Is there an ETA on signage?
Slow food movement, man. This is a slow food.
The slow rollout movement.
Yeah.
Slow rollout
Slow
movement.
food includes an incredibly slow promotional campaign. There is some plans for signage. Well, we're kind of halfway there, if that makes sense. So we have the inside done. We have that small charcuterie bar, the tiny kitchen that you guys see, which could only really produce so much. So
you did mention though that it really helps with your creativity because you're limited to
yes
what you can do, so you gotta have fun with it.
It definitely sharpens the pencil.
Yeah.
It's I think it's like when you walk into a massive grocery store and you're starving, and you're just like, you end up spending $300 or something.
How did that happen?
Right?
How
did that happen? So the same could be the same thing. If you're me and you're a chef and someone says, "Here's this beautiful kitchen with everything," and then you're like, "Oh wow, I could do anything," and then you're kind of overwhelmed. So you gotta. It takes a long time to narrow it down and to like kind of get your vision, and then since you have everything, everyone will have an opinion on what you should have on your menu.
Yeah, of course.
So you have something smaller like that, like I have, and you have some people that maybe could suggest things, but they're like, "Oh wait, do you even have an oven, or you don't have a grill, you don't have elements burners, stuff like that." So it definitely focused it into something that was good.
Yeah,
small
absolutely.
but good. If you're gonna have 6 items on your menu, they better all be home runs.
Home runs, yeah.
And it's going to make it kind of a consistent experience, right? More consistent.
Yeah, it'll be very
similar styles.
Yeah, exactly. Because you're not going to have deep fry one time and then maybe that goes away and comes back. It just won't be there because you don't have that.
Yeah.
Or for example, or something, right?
Yeah, it'll always kind of be me back there doing it.
That's another thing.
I'll be there every day.
Yeah, right now if that place is open, you're there, right?
Yeah, because we are only open Thursday, Friday, Saturday. In the summer, probably about mid-May, and I guess
it's coming up.
It is coming up. It's coming up really fast.
It doesn't look like it. Well, it's starting to look a little nicer.
So we're expanding, and this goes back to being in the middle of this launch, and why we're kind of doing a slow launch. And we do have the Instagram account at Breakwater Tasting Room.
Yeah, which is fantastic. Everybody should look at that.
Yeah, and if you want to see what influences me too, I think aesthetics are like super important when you're a chef. And you could pretty easily see my aesthetics from looking at that Instagram or going and looking at For Catering's Instagram or something.
Because you're taking all those pictures, right?
Yeah, I'm
and they're
managing
great.
Both of those.
Yeah.
So the aesthetic definitely informs how I cook. And then so going back to this middle of the launch thing, what we're doing right now is we're building a giant patio out back. That's going to...
That's so sweet.
Yeah, it's going to be super cozy. It's going to have, like the tabletop fireplaces, like lots of heat, because it can get windy by the water, as we all know.
For sure.
Definitely. Oh, yeah.
And then on that patio, we have this giant food truck. So that is going to be kind of framed into the patio itself, if you could imagine that. So it'll be part of the patio, and that will be like an auxiliary kitchen, or the primary kitchen maybe, because it's way big. That food truck's way bigger.
Way bigger than your kitchen. Yeah.
So that kitchen's also going to service the restaurant. And as far as I know, it'll be the first place in Vic that a food truck services the restaurant, and it might be the first kind of license like that.
Yeah, I don't know. I haven't.
I don't know about you guys.
Yeah, I don't know. I can't think of anything.
Other than food trucks.
Yeah, there's food trucks, but they don't have like a licensed seating area, right? And stuff like that. So
yep.
You're thinking through it, and I'm trying to think too.
Yeah, I can't think of any. It's very like...
nothing. I mean, Harvest Road has seating, but that's different.
Right.
They're labeled as a building.
Mm-hmm.
It is a truck thing,
yeah.
But it doesn't move. It's labeled as a building. We talked to them about that.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, no.
Yeah. So that will be mid-May. We'll get that going, and then that will expand the menu a bit. And the challenge I've had with that is keeping the vision tight, but still offering something that it's a very touristy area. Still offering something that people will want, because at the end of the day, even if I don't eat like it, I understand that in North America, a lot of people still want that burger, or they want that salmon burger, they want those fries.
It's familiar, right?
It's very familiar, and it's honestly our food. If you want to say that if North America has a culinary food, for better or worse, a lot of people when they think of North America, they're going to think of things like chicken wings and burgers and greasy food, which I don't think is entirely true, but that's a whole other can of worms.
Yes, it is.
So the challenge was to figure out how I could still do it kind of how I do the inside menu with the small plates, and how I could still feel good about the food that we do out there. So we are doing it. It is a food truck, but it's going to be all local. And I know we do have local food trucks like that at Vic. So similar, if you think of things like whether it's Harvest Road is all Mitchell's, right? Or no?
Well, they have a farm. Their meats are down the road.
Yeah, like Berryman's Butchery. They get stuff from there.
Right.
Like Berryman's raised 100 chickens for them because they couldn't find any chickens.
Oh no.
Local enough or ethical enough or whatever.
Ethical enough, yeah.
Yeah.
So yeah.
So you have them doing that to a very high level. You have trucks like is it Juma?
Yeah, Juma. Aiden does an amazing job.
Yeah. So all local again, has their farm. So we're gonna try to keep that truck on the farms on Vancouver Island, and we're just going to offer food truck style food that is locally sourced. So if we have a venison or a bison burger with some little Qualcomm cheese and stuff like that, a local baked bun and some greens from Dunkin' or wherever else, we're going to try to keep it all hyper local, but you're going to be able to sit on a licensed patio under heat lamps and very cozy and eat your bison burger with your fries, with BC potatoes, and you'll be able to match it up. So if you want maybe some fries or some churros or something like that, and you also want a big platter of meat and cheese and ferments, that's great.
You really threw a curveball there. I thought he was going to say fries with salad, and he throws churros at me? Fries with churros?
To be honest,
once
people know that this is here, I feel like this place is going to be pretty poppin'. It's going to be busy.
It's actually pretty busy when we were there.
It was, but no, you know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
As more people hear about it and experience it.
I think once we plow through this giant soft open, and we just have a complete product to show people.
Yeah.
With this patio, with this menu that's more expansive, where you could get the full meal, the side, and you can mix and match with the small plates.
That's the thing too. You're not even fully open yet, and we were really impressed with what you have right now.
Yeah.
So that's crazy.
Appreciate it.
And so, what are you making in house here, or what are you not making in house? That might be an easier way to go about it.
Yeah. What am I not making? That is.
Yeah.
Everything's done in house. I've been on a very large ferment kick lately. So we have about 6 or 7 ferments that are done in house. They're all lacto ferments, which refers to maybe people that don't know as lactobacillus bacteria. So it's basically a salt brine, and you just create a condition where the only bacteria that could survive are these lactobacteria. So it has nothing to do with lactose or lactate or
anything like that.
Yeah. Okay.
anything like that. So we have a bunch of those that are made in house. Like I said, the charcuterie we don't make in house is from Sydney, or it's from Two Rivers.
Yeah.
We don't do the cheese in house. It's all BC, like the meat. And then right now, I'm not doing bread in house, but I think that will hopefully change very soon, and we'll be doing our own bread as well.
That's awesome.
And as far as everything else goes, it's all made in house, whether it's condiments or aiolis and stuff like that. You always see aiolis at restaurants that they just it's like Chipotle aioli, and they just put a can of Chipotles, can of Chipotles in a tub of mayonnaise they bought and whisk it.
Yeah.
So nothing like that. So everything's made from scratch in house. Besides those 3 things I just mentioned.
Yeah.
And so, what would you say right now? What does the restaurant do best And what's the biggest challenge at this point? Is there anything?
Yeah, what it does best. I think what it does best is hopefully gives people a good understanding of their experience. So you guys sat at the bar where anyone's welcome to sit, by the way. It's right in front of me.
I like
It's
that.
right
That was
where I
awesome.
sliced the
Yeah.
meat.
But to be able to like talk to you and just
Mhm.
get all this information and that, it was fantastic.
Yeah. So that's great. You could sit there, but if you sit at the back of the room, you have a pretty good chance that at some point I'm going to come out with your charcuterie, and I'm going to tell you where everything is. And if you're down to talk for a bit, I'll chat with you, or I could just drop it and go if you don't want to talk to me. But so
That's awesome that you have that passion to do that, though.
Please don't talk.
Yeah.
Just give me our food.
Just give us our food and go.
Yeah.
And that's fine too. But
Yeah.
so I think what we do well is having a bit of connection with maybe the
customers.
food and yeah, myself and the customers. And I think people have been really receptive to that, because at the end of the day, if we're gonna try to get people to support local, it's all about conversion, because we have those of us that make local food or are involved with it. There's a captive audience. We're always going to have the same people that will support us, and they'd support us if we weren't there, or they'd support the restaurant down the street that's doing the same thing. But it's really special when you could get some people in that maybe are just trying it, that maybe are like, oh, I just, we saw this and we didn't know it was here. So we came in and we weren't sure, but then you gave us this tuna or something and we thought it was amazing and they want to chat. And if you could get maybe people like that would otherwise be, going and getting like a
Salisbury.
Yeah, or to McDonald's or fast food or anywhere like that. If you could get them kind of excited about it, then I think we've done our job. And the best way to get them excited about it is to have someone out there that's not just reciting the lines that the chef told them, but is the chef and could tell them in detail about everything that they have and how it came to be on their plate and the source and how it was prepped and cooked.
Yeah, because you're living the life. You're not just talking about it.
Mm-hmm.
And so, like, everything that's there is there because of you, right?
Yeah, as far as I know.
Yeah, you know what I mean? So,
As far as you know.
No, that's sick. And for people to be able to have that consistent experience because you're there, like, that's huge.
I think so, for sure. And then, sorry, what was the second part of that?
Is there any challenges? Like, is there been any challenges?
Oh, challenges.
Things you want to change, like something you want to change or...
Yeah, so the truck, to have the truck stay on message is going to be a challenge for me.
So what does that mean on message?
On message would just be making sure that we're using local produce, local meat, ethical meat, organic where we can, and if not organic, like we talked about earlier, stuff that's essentially organic.
Yes.
And then another large challenge, I think a large challenge for us, so that's my challenge, that's a personal challenge that I'm going to have. A challenge for us as a restaurant that exists in Victoria is just getting people to come in. Just getting people, there's so many restaurants in Vic, it's so competitive. We're tucked in, we're the furthest you could possibly go south in Vic, right?
It is, yeah.
You can't
Actually,
go...
that's true.
If you go any further, you're wet. So a challenge is the location, and it is definitely a challenge for us. So we're hoping that James Bay and Fairfield could kind of rally behind us. There's nothing like it unless you go into downtown, or into Fernwood, somewhere like Stage, or into Oak Bay. So it's a great place to have wine and charcuterie and cheese, and it's a great place to have a date.
Yeah, it is.
Yeah, absolutely.
But it's not. We got to be honest. It's not the greatest location you could have in Vic. It could be downtown. It could be. It'd be crazy if it was downtown, for example.
Yeah.
But yeah, we're tucked away. I think that's going to be a challenge.
But like with you embracing sort of the food truck experience and putting that with the patio, like if you were downtown, you wouldn't be able to do that.
Exactly.
So it's allowing you to do other things, and you're running with it, sort of what you can do. Mm-hmm. Like sure, the location is a limitation, in maybe in some ways. But in other ways, you're now going with what does work there. So that's really cool.
Yeah, I totally agree with that, because as the location's a limitation, how we go forward is to find, how we counteract the limitations, and I think that
it's only a limitation if you look at it that way.
Exactly. So the strengths of the location is exactly how we fight the limits of the location.
Well, yeah, like
So
look at the kitchen.
Yeah.
To some people, that would be a limitation,
Mm-hmm.
and you're like, no, you're making this consistent, awesome thing, like it's keeping you in line.
Yeah. So if one of the limitations is the location, then one of the strengths is the location in summer. And when we have this patio that backs onto green space, it backs onto the breakwater. This sounds, you don't hear traffic, you don't hear sirens, you don't hear horns, you don't have hordes of tourists walking by your table like you do downtown. You hear seagulls, you could smell the salt, that you could smell the ocean off the breeze, and that's a huge advantage. So
big time.
So as soon as people know where we are, which we're working on every day, I think.
So it's just getting the word out, basically.
I think those limitations we're having right now will probably be turned into our strengths as soon as everyone kind of knows where it is.
Exactly.
Like most restaurants, I feel.
Yeah,
like.
I mean, it does take. Yeah, it
takes a while.
Yeah, I know, and it's just getting someone through the door. Once someone experiences it, then it's like game over.
Yeah, I feel like that. I think one thing that I often do is if you're coming in and you're just having drinks and you say, "Oh, we already ate," or "Oh, we're going somewhere else to eat," you may or you may not get a little sample, because that's how I've been converting quite a few people. Cause,
that's a good call.
Yeah, anytime someone reads a menu and they're like, and they see maybe a couple things they don't know what they are.
Yeah.
I understand it can be a bit intimidating. And if people are kind of like Googling things, or people are like, I don't really know like what that would be like.
Like that turnip thing.
Yeah, the turnip thing, or I mean the tuna you had. If you read it on the menu,
that soy sauce.
The little balls.
Yeah, the little balls.
Tamari. Yeah.
Those were crazy. I don't know how you did that, but
the little spheres. So I mean,
you got a big advantage of your location in the way of Victoria, because Victoria is word of mouth.
It is
word of mouth city. So getting your location out there, I think, will spread like wildfire as soon as someone. Like you say, one person tells 1 and 2 and 3, and Victoria's crazy for that.
Yeah, and so on and so on. So I think we're in the middle of it right now.
Yeah.
We want a finished product to show people, and then once we have that patio and everything's going, which is hopefully only a month away.
Yeah.
We have something that we could really really tell people about more so. Although not that we're being shy right now. We'd love for people to come in right now and experience it as it is, because it's great as it is. But once we have a final product, I think that's really going to be the time to blast it out there.
And do you guys have any like weekly specials or daily specials?
We do. We do have a happy hour. We do little $2.50 canapes.
Sweet.
And those are kind of the canapes are whatever I feel like.
So whatever you're inspired by that day.
Yeah. They might be alteration on a dish I already have, or they might be different. But they're $2.50. They're kind of like 2-bite things.
Cool. Yeah,
just little flavor bombs. And then going forward, we have a guy. His name's Jackie Wild. We have a piano. I should mention this first.
Oh yeah. Where was that?
Yeah.
Was that there when we were there?
Yeah, it was.
Yeah, it was there. It's near the entrance, right?
Yeah, kind of near the entrance.
Yeah.
So we have this cool piano that just kind of ended up in there. We never planned on it.
Did you play?
No. I've been trying to play a little bit though.
That piano?
It'd be really cool to learn a couple songs.
Don't practice.
Imagine though.
Don't practice during hours.
No, not during. Yeah.
But
exactly.
imagine you're doing all this stuff, then randomly you just go over to that thing, start playing.
Yeah.
Everyone's head's gonna like.
Billy Joel.
Yeah, their head's gonna explode.
Yeah.
It's gonna be crazy.
Just learn piano, man. Yeah. Sorry, sir. Your food's gonna be another 20 minutes. The chef is in the middle of a piano, man. Yeah. So we have this piano. We have a guy. His name's Jackie Wild. He's a great pianist, and we're going to have him in when. Until the end of May, we're going to have him in, I think, on Fridays. And they're super, super fun nights. People really got to come down for those.
Sweet.
They are, he just plays a bunch of kind of jazz piano, and then like later on he plays the like the classics, like Rocket Man or Piano
Jerry
Man.
Lee Lewis.
I don't know.
Jerry Lee Lewis.
Good.
Do you know Jerry Lewis?
Great Balls of Fire?
Great Balls of Fire.
Yeah.
Oh, we could request that. I don't know if he takes requests.
And then maybe he'll light it on fire after.
Yeah,
Like Jerry
legit.
Lewis did.
And then, so he'll be playing, and and by the end of the night, they're just sing-alongs, and half the place is singing along to Rocket Man.
Sweet.
It's super
So that's
fun.
just going to add to the atmosphere.
Yeah, it's a great atmosphere when that's going. So that will happen, I think, starting May, every Friday. And then, going forward, I don't know how some of your listeners probably know what the barge is. Do you guys know what the barge is?
Is that the market thing?
No, it's every Friday night.
Barge.
It's the barge, Breakwater Barge. So every Friday night, it's
It's an event, right?
an event.
I thought
it's a venue.
I thought it was a market. I didn't know it was an actual venue.
So every Friday night, and it's on the water. It's a floating barge.
Okay.
In the little pilot boat harbor. If you look past
yeah.
that, there's some white tents. It's a huge floating barge, 400 person capacity, and every Friday there's live music. We have a food trailer down there. I think this year I'll be doing that, but I think we'll just be doing like tacos out of there. It'll be really simple. And beer, wine, cider, 3 breweries, I think. I think Sea Cider, a couple wineries, and then live music. I think to get on's donation last year it was $2.
What was it called?
Oh, wow.
Breakwater Barge.
I'd heard of it, but I never made it down to it. But
every
seen
Friday all summer, starting May. What is it? May 25th? Is that a Friday? Is that right?
Yeah, sure.
Probably.
The Friday around May
Yeah.
25th. I think it is. And starting every then all the way through September, every single Friday night, live music venue, beer, wine, cider, tacos. $2 donation to get in last year. I think it might be the same this year. I think half of that even goes to charity. It's put on by, of course, we run it all, and it's put on by the GVAJ and the Breakwater. Last year we had, Jesse Roper played there last year.
What?
Yeah, $2. You could have went in pounded beers on a barge floating in the ocean and listened to, Jesse
$2.
Roper, or
Wow.
Johnny from John and Roy.
Yeah.
A couple DJ sets. A few other great bands. So that's an amazing venue, and that's every Friday. So when that starts at the Breakwater proper in the tasting room, when that ends, we're going to have a DJ on the Fridays because it's a big crowd, and it's a fairly young, fun crowd. It's really great. It's really great. So hopefully, then after the barge ends, they all come up and they come in for the DJ, and then that DJ will move the piano man Jackie to Wednesdays. So in the summertime proper, Wednesdays will be the piano man. Maybe a little wine special. We'll see. I don't know.
Wine special
keg
guaranteed.
Wine special. Yeah.
Heard it here first.
We'll figure something out for sure, and then hopefully in the chaos that is the Victoria tourist season, Wednesdays just turn out to be a bunch of locals drinking wine and listening to the piano. And then on the Friday, of course, we will have the barge all summer, which will be madness and a lot of fun. And then a little DJ set afterwards and in the tasting room as well.
So forget about the location being a challenge. The location's awesome. This is all I'm thinking now.
No, it is. It is really awesome. It's the biggest challenge and the biggest asset, if that makes no sense. But
and so you'd actually mentioned to us that when we were in there, that the menu was gluten-free, inadvertently, right?
it is very inadvertently gluten-free.
But that's only right now. But obviously that can change.
Well, in the food truck, we're gonna have. I think we already have a game burger planned. BC Game Burger, hopefully Island Game Burger. So whether that's bison, I put game in quotes because it's going to be obviously from a sustainable farm. Or venison, and we'll have a sockeye burger. So those are going to be on buns. So those aren't going to be gluten free. However, if we do fish and chips, if we do fries, anything like that from that truck, I'll make sure they're gluten free.
That's awesome.
And then as far as inside goes, totally gluten-free. I just have bread if you want on the charcuterie platters to go with the meat and cheese.
So are you gonna stick with that theme moving forward, or is it?
Yes and no. I think eventually we'll have various things that might have some gluten in them on the main menu, but for the most part, it's going to be gluten-free. It's going to
Okay.
be it's inadvertently, but in the same time it's not, because I'm at home when I cook for myself. I don't really use that much gluten, and it's not because I have an opinion on gluten.
And you don't have like a sensitivity or anything?
I don't have a sensitivity. I love sandwiches.
I love a good gluten.
I love gluten. It just kind of happened just because, for whatever reason, when I'm making recipes or when I'm making dishes in my head, bread's never a starting point for me. Although I shouldn't say never. Occasionally it is, but 99% of the time it's not the starting point. So the whole menu is gluten-free.
Celiacs welcome.
I would say celiacs are totally welcome. The small amount of bread that may go on the charcuterie platters is kind of cut. It's kind of in a bin. It gets toasted. It's not like I'm not doing anything down there that's causing puffs of flour to float everywhere, or anything like that, or anything that would have gluten. So the risk of cross-contamination's not entirely absent, but it's really, really low. So I would say come on in. The whole menu is gluten-free, and it will probably be mostly gluten-free for the foreseeable future. So it's very friendly in that sense.
Awesome. And so there's something for everybody, right? Do you have a dairy-free? You have dairy-free stuff.
Yeah, there's some dairy-free. There's
vegan,
the odd thing with a little
vegetarian.
bit of dairy. Vegan. Yeah. It's not, it's not the greatest vegan spot.
Okay.
If you want a vegan, go somewhere else. Everybody else is welcome.
Oh, that being said, I have friends that are vegan that love coming in, because we do have a couple vegan options. Vegetarian more so.
Yeah.
It always seems like when I'm making vegetarian dishes, there's always some sort of cured egg on there or something. So that kind of that does kind of take it out for the vegans a bit. But there are options for both of them as well.
And
Vegetarian for sure.
And so we are going to be doing our radio segment on CFAX about the tasting room. Is there anything really important that we've left out that you want to touch on that we should really get on the air that you can think of, or anything in particular that we have touched on that you would really like to highlight?
Right. I think for us right now, as far as the restaurant goes, the things to highlight would really just be where we are.
Location.
Okay. Location.
Yeah.
We're just trying to get that out there. That's the biggest, like I said, it's the biggest challenge right now. It won't be a challenge eventually, It takes time, these things. But right now it's the biggest location. As far as personally, just as far as food goes, just the local thing is super important.
BC.
Much more than the wild crafting thing. If people are interested in learning more about wild crafting or foraging foods, or how to really access the local markets, because we got to remember sometimes people don't really understand like the extent of where to find food. For a lot of people is Thrifties. So it's only what Thrifties would have locally that you'd be able to buy. But there are other avenues that you could go, other very convenient avenues. Like anytime you drive a friend to the ferry or the airport, there are places all along that Pape Highway that you could explore, that you could buy it right from the farmer.
There's a lot of farmers markets going to be starting up soon.
A lot of farmers markets. Yeah,
I love the markets here.
Moss Street is great to go and talk to the farmers, and
Moss Street's awesome.
Yeah, because a lot of them will sell there.
Is that the one that has sort of the most farmers?
It's at the school.
No, I know, but is that the one out of all of them?
Seems to have more focus on farmers. Like a charcuterie plate you probably get made right there.
Yeah, should open up a charcuterie booth there this summer.
Because I'm thinking about other ones that then they don't have necessarily as big of a focus on actual farmers.
Yeah,
that one probably is.
That was big, I'd say. That was big. I know, the James Bay one has a good selection of farmers. The Esquimalt one has a good selection of farmers. I'm not sure on the dates this year for all these ones. I know Moss Street will still be Saturday. I think Esquimalt will still be Thursday.
I enjoy them all. And I enjoy the Oaklands ones as well.
Yeah.
I used to go there for Juma every week last summer.
Yeah, right.
Because Aiden was there.
Yeah, they're great. They're super accessible. And what people, so I guess, stressing that people really, it's really easy to buy local, and one of the biggest, or I should say the worst kept secret for chefs, is that it's cheaper to buy from a big distributor. Because at the end of the day, if you're buying seasonally from local producers, a lot of the times it's not that much more expensive, and in some cases it's even cheaper to go to your local farm than it is to go to the supermarket as a chef.
And you still got a lot of mileage then on your food if you're buying local, like you're saying, right? The food miles.
The food miles. Well, the food miles is, I guess you're trying to reduce the miles. More miles mean more gas.
Yeah, you want
spent,
less
right?
miles.
Less miles.
Oh yeah, sorry. I was thinking about mileage as far as lifespan.
Right.
No, it's mileage of how far it is.
Yeah, how far? Sorry. Yeah.
You get more mileage as far as lifespan, though. That's
yeah,
true.
the lifespan.
Yeah, they are probably going to be a bit fresher,
Mm-hmm.
and you're probably going to feel a bit
I
better
like
about
your
it.
food mile. I like that.
I'm using it in multiple ways.
Yeah, it works on so many levels. But yeah, you're going to have buying seasonally and buying from the farmers. You're going to reduce the carbon footprint of your meals, because we often don't think about it, and it's a pretty large carbon footprint. Our food systems and our distribution systems for food is massive. So before everyone everyone's super willing to sign a petition here and there, or give to something like Wild Site, or try to save some green space, or save the point at Jordan River, and do all these things. But a really good way to reduce your carbon footprint, if you really care about it, is just to be really conscious about what you're eating and when you're eating it, and trying to pull it a bit more closer to home.
Awesome. And one last thing, I've mentioned this place to some people, and they all ask me, "Do you guys take reservations?"
We do.
Okay.
Yeah.
Good.
Yeah. We
Awesome.
take reservations. We'll never
Great.
fill the place with reservations.
Yeah.
I don't think it's something
reservation for 50.
So is that recommended then? Would you say?
No.
Okay.
I don't think we're not worried about it right now.
Okay.
But when we do pick up, I think we're always going to leave, hopefully, like half the restaurant for just walk-ins or something,
Walk-ins,
right?
yeah.
That's awesome. Yeah.
I think that's the way to go in Victoria. Nobody plans.
That picture's sweet.
And when we did go, we had a flank steak that Mike said ruined steak for him because it
I've had steak since.
it melted in his mouth, or in our mouth. We both had it.
Yeah, you wrecked me.
I don't know. Sorry about that.
Yeah, so when the time this podcast is up, we'll have a picture up. You can go check it out and take a look. The food was phenomenal, though. Thank you for inviting us out and letting us try some stuff.
Incredible.
Pleasure to have you.
Damn steak.
Awesome. Thank you. So I guess we're going to sign off here. We'll see you guys.
Bye?
Yeah.
See ya.
We'll see you again soon. Thanks for listening. Bye.